Hello, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you can set up your authentication um, flow inside of Xano. Now, the reason why I am keen on doing this video is because there is a lot of authentication videos already out there, but a few talks about the password reset capability, which is an integral part of an application. Now, I'll be showing you in this instance using a marketplace extension called Magic Link and with a combination of SendGrid. So what SendGrid is essentially a email provider or email API provider, if I'm not mistaken, which allows you to send email to be able to reset your it can send you emails essentially. Now the content of the email is dependent on what you set it to be. It can be a link to reset your password. It can be a OTP code. It can be a lot of things, but in this instance, we'll be using SendGrid to send emails for users to be able to update their current passwords. So let's just get straight into it. First of all, you wanna create you want to go to the extensions, right? So inside of Marketplace, you can go to Purchased, which you can see the list of things you've already installed or purchased. In this case, I'll be using the password reset snippet by Michael from Xano. Now, the reason why I'm using this because this gives you the most convenience when you don't have a database already set up. So you start fresh, you can just install the snippet, and then everything you need is already there from already in there in the API endpoints and in the database. So let's just install the snippet, right? We can install the snippet, and we can see the list of things that are added now. So first of all, the first thing you will notice is from the database, you can see a new database called User Database. Inside of here, you have your email and all those things. And in the API endpoint, you have this endpoint. Now, obviously, you still want your basic authentication setup, which is the sign up and the login. Now, you can do that as well by installing the other snippet, which is the Magic Link with SendGrid. Now, you want to do it in this particular order because if you install this first and then you install the password reset snippet, it will have duplicate tables and your setup will be much more bulky. Essentially not bulky, it will be much more inconvenient. So we'll install this right now, and then we'll select our user table, and then we can install this. At the end, I'll also talk about how you can do this without having to start from scratch. So I'll essentially be explaining how Magic Link works and what you can do about this, about password reset and all those things if you already have a user database. So you can integrate it with your current API endpoint, your authentication API endpoint. So as I said, we can see here in our API groups, we can see there are new stuff here. We can see there's the login, the magic link, and then the magic login, which exchanges your magic token for a authentication token, and then your sign up endpoint, right? Now, from here, we still have to add some things. For me specifically, I wanna add a first name. So instead of this name here, I can delete this and change it first name and last name. So I'm going to do that right now. We can add a new text field called first name. First name. Can add this, and then after the first name, boom, perfect. We can add last name, and perfect. And last but not least, I want to add something called user reference ID, which essentially is just a UUID generated for users upon sign up. So we'll do that as well. User reference ID. Perfect. We can save this. And now we can put this first name here. I like to organize it this way. This is what I'm used to. So, okay, that's interesting. Let it do its thing. And then I can put the last record, or the last field record here. And perfect. So now you can see the structure of the database itself is already changed. There's first name, last name, as well as user reference ID, which is what we want. Now in the API function stack, we can rename. I like to rename this for Magic Link into authentication to be able to, indicate that this is the authentication API group, which now we can save. And we're going to be messing around with the sign up function stack first. So instead of name here, obviously you want to change this. We want to delete this first. And then you want to add a text input called first name. Same thing as our database. First name and then last name. Last name. And then last but not least, we want to add... Okay, this is everything. This is what we want upon sign up. Now, the function stack is going to be a bit different. So, wait. We will... Okay, so let me go through the function stack. So, first of all, we want to get the record from the user database table to make sure that the email that the user has provided is null, which essentially means the email does not exist currently in the user database. After that's done, we want to make sure we want to create a UID, right? If the user is in fact null, we want to create a UID for the user reference ID. So we're going to use that UID, generate UID, right? So in this generate UID, we're going to name it user reference ID, and then we can save this below the precondition that the user is in fact null. Now, when we do add the record, we can set this user reference ID to the variable that this generate UID has created. So we're going to map it as user reference ID, and the email is the input that the user has already provided in the application. Now, the Magic Link, we can just hide this because obviously we don't need to add anything there for now. And then now we can, we can just set it to null. That's also fine. So now we can save this, and you should be able to see everything here is now mapped up. Now, after this is done, it will exchange. After the record is added to the database, it will then now return a authentication token, which is returned as an authentication token. So if I run this now, let's say I want to add my email, bar at excise.com, and then I want to add a simple password of 1, 2, 3, because again, the precondition for the password, I believe, is 8 characters. Let me just double check that real quick. Or no, there is no precondition for the password. I believe you can you can set a minimum length for the password itself. Let's actually set this minimum length to 8. And obviously you can configure this however you want. You can make it 10, you can make it 5. But essentially what this means, this configuration min 8, it means that the password has to at least have 8 characters inside of it. So if it's less than 8 characters, then it will return an error. So let's save this. Now let's trigger that error. Actually, let's actually just provide 7 characters, and now we can put our first name and last name. All right, and then we can run this. It will return an error here. Param password input does not meet minimum length requirement of 8 characters. So this is what we want. So if I add this to 3 now, so this is now 8. Boom, we got an authentication token. Perfect. And now if we check our database table, we can see that our new record has been now added, which is perfect. Now after this, we can obviously publish this now that we know it works. And obviously before you publish anything, you want to test it out to make sure that everything works as it should be. So now we'll publish this, and boom. Perfect. Now we can go to the login. So here the function stack is relatively straightforward. It will get the record from the user based on the email that the user has provided in the application, and it will make sure that the user exists inside of a database table. Earlier, it makes sure that the user does not exist currently. Now, it makes sure that the user does exist, right? And if the user exists, it will now validate that password that the user has provided. Now, it will make sure that the input password is equals to the hash passwords. Essentially means that hash password means that the password that has been encrypted is the same value as the password before it is encrypted, and it will return a variable called pass result. And if pass result is equals to true, right, then it will carry on with the function stack and it will grant you an authentication token. So for this instance, I can actually run this and input the email that I have provided earlier at xyz.com, and then I can set the password to the password I already set earlier. My bad. Or actually, no. Let's actually make sure that this works. See, it returns of error because my credentials is not valid here. If I actually make it to the credentials I inputted earlier, it will now return another authentication token, which is terrific. Exactly what we want. So these two are essentially the auth login and the auth signup is essentially the cornerstone or the bedrock of authentication token. Now the additional stuff here, like auth me, magic login, magic link, generate JWT secret, which I will get into after this, and this update password is essentially the secondary part of the authentication API endpoint. Another thing that's also important is auth me, which essentially is returning the record belonging to a specific user based on authentication token, right? So now here, this is actually interesting. Oh, sorry, this is Magic Link. My bad. This is Magic Link. Sorry, this is the endpoint I was referring to, the auth me, which is essentially here, get the record user record belonging to the authentication token. So this authentication token has to have authentication enabled. So you have authentication enabled, and now what this does is when you're in the application, you're essentially exchanging your auth token or your cookie in the application for the record. So here it will get the record, query the record based on the user's ID. And so if we do this for now, for example, we specifically pick our authentication token or input our authentication token inside of here, which is this long string of text, and then we run this, we should get this, which is the response that it would give. Now you can customize the response. Actually, here I'm going to do that. All right, I'm going to set that as the response. And as you can see here, if I do the same thing again, the response will be different. Now you can see my first name, my last name, my user reference ID, as well as my email, which is the most important part. Now we can publish this as well. So now we will go to the more in-depth side of things, which is generating the JWT secret. So what this does is essentially it will generate a secret key, essentially specific to your your extension. So you shouldn't show this to anyone when you generate this, but for this case I will be showing you how it works. So after you generate this JWT secret, you can copy the response that it has generated. You can go to your marketplace, and then you can go to the purchase tabs, which essentially shows you the list of extensions that you have installed, and you can configure this. Now, in this case, I have set it up earlier, but essentially what you want to do is you want to paste this, and then you will have this text editor pop up, and then you will import this JSON inside of here. So you can import this, and then you can update that. And perfect. And you might notice here, there's a bunch of other input fields as well. So for example, this is one of the input fields, and the SendGrid API key, your redirect URI, your Magic Link template, your expiry date, and all those things. So I'll be going through each one of these individually. So what SendGrid from email is essentially the email that you will be sending your email templates from. Essentially in your SendGrid account, when you do register for a SendGrid account, you can set the email that you will use for your email campaign, right? Now that email will be inputted inside of this field. So essentially it will now know, okay, I'm sending this Magic Link from this email. Now below that you have this SendGrid API key. What this is essentially for each SendGrid account, it will have its own email API SendGrid API key, which is essentially like the secret token, if you want to use their terminology. And that secret token will go inside of here, which again, you shouldn't be showcasing to anyone. Below that, you have your link redirect URI. So what this is essentially the redirect page you will want your users to go once, let's say, they log in, right? When they log in, what page do they want to be redirected in? So this is dependent on your application. For example, you want to be redirecting the users to to the update password page, which you have specifically made under your authentication pages inside of your application. So this is dependent on the link that you have set for your update password page inside of your application. This magic JWT secret stuff I already showed you earlier. And below here, you have your Magic Link template. This will be an HTML content. So in SendGrid, you can create email templates, which will then be copied over here, which is essentially the SendGrid Magic Link template. And then you can input, for example, you can set the buttons or certain links into the actual Magic Link token. So if you click that, you will be redirected to your application, and you can update your password now. And then this below that is the Magic Link expiry time, which essentially is the amount of time before the Magic Link that it will generate expires. So 3600 essentially means it's an hour, because 3600 seconds equates to 1 hour. So yeah, so if you time 60 by 60, obviously it's 3600. So 3600 seconds. So you can make this 24 hours, so 3600 by 24, but I like to keep it at an hour. So now we can update this, and then we can carry on with the function stack in your API endpoints. So as I said, the way that this works is that it will, once you click a link, it will essentially grant you an passwordless authentication token, right? So you will essentially, to put it in layman terms, you'll be able to log into your account just by simply clicking a link which contains your authentication token. So this is the API endpoint that is responsible for that. Now you will have to grant an email in your application. So what you do, essentially, you input your email in the application, and then once you input your email, this will then, SendGrid will send a password reset email, right? Where users can go to their email and click a link or a button that you have already set. Now, in that link and button, as I said, the Magic Link template earlier, you can set that content to be your, Magic Link thing. So if I input my email here, for example, exercise.com, I should get a Magic Link. Oh, yeah. So I'm missing that. I have to set the extensions first, but essentially, if you input your email and then you exchange it for a Magic Link, you will get a Magic Link auth token here. So it will essentially send you the success message here. And then once that's done, you will be then able to log in using that authentication token that you've been granted from this request Magic Link API endpoint. Now that would be in this particular page where you would exchange your Magic Link, right? It will first make sure that your magic token actually exists, right? And then it will decode your magic token. So this magic token will essentially be the authentication token that has been granted to you upon when you click a link or a button inside of the email template. Now it will decode that, right? It will decode that, and then it will set a precondition. If that precondition is fulfilled, it will then get your record from the user database. So it will query your record based on this decoded magic token. Now, the output of that would be your user variable, which contains all your user things here. So it will return your user record, and then that variable will then be ran through a precondition again. Essentially, if the user's Magic Link token is the same as the decoded Magic Link token here, then it will go to another precondition, right? It will check now if this Magic Link expiration is bigger than now. So it will make sure that this Magic Link token or the Magic Link expiration date is still available. It's how do I put it in 2 words? Essentially, it will make sure that the Magic Link is still applicable or still viable, right? And then if it passes that, it will go to another precondition. It will make sure that this Magic Link wasn't used previously. So it will make sure that this Magic Link is still brand new. And then if that also passes, then it will grant you the authentication token, right? Earlier. And then it will essentially edit the Magic Link here. It will make sure that your Magic Link is now change into true. So essentially, it will now change the database record that your Magic Link is now non-valid anymore if you use it again. So essentially, that's how the function stack works. Now you can replicate this yourself if you want. You don't have to use the snippet or the extension that I explained earlier. You can do this for your for your existing database table. So this stuff you can just recreate yourself, right? Which is good because sometimes you already make a your user database, and sometimes you didn't do this. For example, you didn't do it exactly the way I did it, and so you're now confused on how you want to do it. You can just literally just copy paste the function stack of it, or understand the basics of the function stack and replicate it that way. And last but not least is the update password user API endpoint, which essentially makes it will allow you to update your password. As I said, ideally when you send a magic link via email from SendGrid to the user, you want them to redirect to a update user password page where they can update their password, because obviously people who request for password reset forget their password. So that's why they requested that, and ideally after they log in, they can now update that password before they continue or carry on with their stuff in the application that you have built. So essentially, this is just a simple, update password endpoint. It will make sure that so there's two input, which is your new password and confirm password. It will make sure that your new password is equals to the confirmed passwords that you have set here in this precondition, and then it will get the user record based on your authentication ID. And if the user authentication ID that has been returned as in this variable equals to the authentication ID that you carry, then it will edit the record inside of that user database table. It will update your password into this new password that you have provided. And then if you have successfully updated your password, it will return an object which contains a message of, hey, you have successfully updated your password. So yeah, that's essentially how your authentication flow will go inside of Xano with update password and your fundamentals or your crucial parts of authentication, which is loading the user record, updating the password, or requesting the password. So yeah, I hope this video can help you create the update password feature inside of your application, because again, as I said, it's a really integral part of an application. And yeah, I'll probably showing you how you can integrate this to your actual front end of the application later on in the future. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.